Guys, on today's video, we're revisiting a topic that is my most popular video, and that is how to install a load distribution hitch. And what we're going to be looking at today is the Easy Lift 1000 model. They come in different models, but nonetheless, if you have a load distribution hitch that is like this style with the chains, then this is pretty much going to be the same method and the same install that you would have with any of those other kits. So guys, like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So maybe you just got your load distribution hitch and you don't know where to start, or maybe you got one from Camping World with your rig and you just don't know where to start and hook this thing up, or maybe they just gave you piss poor instructions like they did me. So we're going to kind of clarify some things, show you exactly how to get this thing set up. And sometimes this isn't even what's going off the manual, because sometimes that manual even leads you astray. But we're going to go through, show you some tips and tricks to get this load distribution hitch set up for you, and it's going to make your towing a lot safer out there on the road. I have everything laid out here. Obviously, I already have my hitch installed, and that is going to be one of the main things you need to look at. And this is something that if you're doing it for the first time, you're going to have to probably readjust it a little bit. So you have the little ball that's for your sway controller, and then you have the ball that you're actually going to hook up to the trailer. But what you're probably going to have to adjust is the height of this thing, depending on how much weight is going to actually be on your vehicle. Your truck might squat down a lot more than it normally would, so you're going to have to try to, look to see how much it squats and then readjust it. You can see on the side here you have different holes. So I have mine down a pretty good ways, but you can raise this thing up, probably a good 6 to 8 inches of variable room here. So that's something you're gonna have to play with, and pretty easy. You're just gonna have to get wrenches that fit these big bolts over here, and then retighten those. And then another thing you wanna make sure is that you have this completely tightened down. You don't want that thing moving at all, because what that can do is cause a lot of play, and then it's gonna wear out parts. So we have our brackets laying here. That's what the chains are gonna connect to. And then we have our load distribution bars and the sway controller. We're probably gonna go ahead and just install the brackets first and just kind of get these sitting up on the frame of the trailer, up here on the A-frame. They're probably gonna be sitting somewhere around here. You can go ahead and tighten that bolt down. Just a little snug where you can still move it around a little bit. Because what we're gonna have to do, once we back under and get our chains lined up, we want the chains to be straight up and down. So we're just gonna kind of put it right there. Okay, that bolt's just snug so we can still move it. Do the same thing to the other side. So before, my truck had airbags and I really didn't run a load distribution hitch that much. But now that I've converted over and took the air suspension out of my truck, so it had the Ram 4-corner air suspension, now I'm just running heavy duty springs in the back of the truck. So we're bringing back the load distribution bars. So I guess one thing we can talk about is your tow vehicle. So for us, we have heavy duty springs in the back here. So once we hook up, our vehicle's not going to squat as much as, let's say, a normal 1500 that doesn't have the heavy duty springs. It's probably going to squat a lot more. So that's one thing we're going to have to play around with. I really haven't towed this camper since we've taken out the air suspension, so it's going to be a little trial and error as well. So we might have to go ahead and readjust that too. So next up, we're going to go ahead and put the bars into the hitch. I should mention, with all of these steps, is making sure your hardware is nice and tight. So you have hardware all on here, making sure that's nice and tight. All the hardware on the hitch is nice and tight, and then on the sway controller as well. That's just going to minimize issues in the future. So with these bars, all you have to do is insert it into the slot and just push really firmly up in there, and it's going to lock in. It has a little tab right here that locks it in. And then one quick tip here, a lot of people don't know that. They'd be trying to pull this out to get this thing to release. All you have to do is swing it forward, and it can fall right out. So quick tip right there, you don't have to fight with that anymore. You just go ahead and swing it to the front, and that's going to unlock it. That lock it back in. We'll do the other side. All right, we're just gonna have those kind of just swung out of the way. So another thing we can look at is how the hitch is kind of tilted forward or back. Imagine an axis that goes forward and back. I like mine to be just slightly tilted towards the rear, so kind of tilted downwards. What that's gonna do is when you back under the trailer, it's gonna make it a little bit easier to get the ball to kind of slide under if it's really close, but also it's gonna help with unhooking it. So it's gonna make it a lot easier for that ball to release out of the hitch. So that's one reason I do it. And also it's gonna ensure that you have more chain links. Once we get this hooked up, it's gonna ensure that we can have more chain links because these bars are tilted downwards a little bit more. It's gonna allow more chain to be used. And in turn, that should make more tension on the whole system. So now that we have that hooked up, we can go ahead and back under the trailer back here, get it hooked up, and then we'll kind of press on from there, showing you what you do. We're gonna have to go up with the trailer just a little bit. Like I said, this is the first time I've hooked up to this since I've taken the air suspension out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and lower the trailer onto the ball. All right, now that we have the trailer sitting on the hitch where it normally would, we're gonna stop right there. We're not gonna fully rest all the weight of the camper onto the hitch yet. We're gonna wait a second because that's how we can go ahead and build the tension up on these low distribution bars. All right, next thing we're gonna do is kind of swivel these in to where they're gonna be resting and see what alignment looks like right there. I guess I should have mentioned, you want your tow vehicle perfectly in line with the trailer. That way you can get even tension on both sides. If you don't get even tension on both sides, you might have 4 links on this side, you might have 5 links on the other. It's not gonna be even, so it's not gonna be optimal for towing. So what we're gonna do, since we got this one straight up and down, we're gonna go ahead and tighten that down with the wrench. And we're talking about the bolt that's back here. And a lot of times Camping World, they'll tell you just to hand tighten this, which I don't think that makes any sense. I don't want this thing sliding around. So why would I leave it hand tightened? I don't think that makes any sense. All right, so that's tight. It's not going anywhere. We're gonna go ahead, cross over to the other side and get that one situated. Do this one. I think we need to go a little forward with it. Yeah, it's pretty straight up and down. And this right here, if it gets in the way, you can kind of rest it up on top. It's not gonna make a big difference. All right, so that's tight. If you didn't know what we were tightening, it's these bolts right here on both sides. So now we got those chains straight up and down. So now it's kind of where the magic happens. Show you how to build the tension That's going to ensure that you're going to get this thing leveled out. And what we're talking about leveled out is you can kind of test this several different ways. So when you're looking at your tow vehicle, see how much gap we have between the tire and the fender. So you want to minimize the amount of droop that the rear suspension is going to have, because if you have that all the way down, your suspension's not going to work right, and your tow vehicle is just not going to perform right, because you're not going to have as much steering capabilities up here because all the weight is being on the back axle. So we're trying to keep all the weight on the front as much as possible and even out the load between the trailer axles, the rear axle of the tow vehicle, and the front axle of the vehicle. That is what we're kind of doing right here when we're building this tension. All right, so right now what you want to do is go ahead and make sure this is coupled up good. You lock your pin in place. Gotta get the safety pin here. Gotta get that locked in. So we're coupled up good here, because what we're gonna do right now is lift this up. This is the part that everybody gets wrong. Camping World, when they do their demonstrations, they don't show you this. They don't show you that you need to raise this up a couple inches, and then that's gonna allow us to lock in these chains to where they're gonna have the maximum tension, and then we're gonna put the tension back on to the vehicle. So what we're doing right now is building that tension. So we're gonna go up with the vehicle about 3 inches. All right, so this is something you can kind of mess around with. 3 inches might be too much for your rig. It might be too much tension. But if you don't do enough, it's not gonna help your tow vehicle at all. So what we're gonna do is go through right now, and we're gonna lock in these chains. All right, so your hitch setup should have came with a little bar right here, this little breaker bar. So what this is gonna allow you to do is gain more leverage when you're trying to install these chains. So we didn't have any tension on these before, guys. I just had them up here so we could make sure they're straight up and down. What you're gonna do is count how many links that you're gonna have. That way you can have it on the other side. So we're gonna grab where we think is where we're gonna be. I think that's where it's gonna be. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to, well, if we bend this down, we're gonna be able to get this chain link in there. So one tip with the chain links is you have it like this. I'm just gonna grab a chain link and let it just dangle. So a lot of times people get these kind of just all bonded up. I don't want this chain to be twisted. I just want to pinch it like that. And then I'm gonna put it up on that little holder. We're gonna take our pry bar. We're gonna start installing the hitch. You want to make sure your face isn't anywhere near the bar. All right, you can see how much tension is on that right there. Then you want to get your little cotter key. Install that. As a lot of people say, oh, you should install that from the front to the rear. It's not going to matter. That's not coming out. So that is how you do that right there. So you can see how this is. Get your slack just dangling there. Chain's perfectly straight up and down. We have it locked in. We got the pin through. We're ready to rock and roll with this side. You go ahead, do the same thing on the opposite side. Guys, I know it's been a long time since I've done any like camping related videos or trailer related videos, but I'm trying to get back into it. So if you have any ideas that you want to throw at the channel about what to do for future videos, definitely hit me up in the comment box below and hand out those ideas, guys. Very open to any suggestions that you might have. All right, we're on the opposite side. And I just got to thinking we forgot to count the chain links on that opposite side. So I'm gonna do that real quick. We have it locked in to the 7th link. So I just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this one was locked in. So it looks like we're gonna have to bend this down just like we did on the other side. start getting it in there. And you can just tell how much tension is being applied to all of this right here. So you really want to be careful. Make sure you're not going to get pinched. All right, once we have it locked in, get the propane cover kind of out of the way. That's kind of in the way. All right, guys, so we have that side good. Now what we're going to do is unload that tension and put it on to the whole system here. And that is going to just be, but it's lowering it down again. Yeah, you can just hear it. That's just so much pressure. Now, if you don't have to use a low distribution hitch, don't use one. That's just added pressure you don't need. So our jack is all the way up. We're gonna go ahead and stow everything else, like the leverage bar. Now let's look to see what kind of squat we have, if any. I don't think it's squatted any. So this is also because we have those heavy duty springs back here. It's not gonna squat near as much as if you just had the stock springs. So this is still gonna allow us to have weight up on our front axle. That way we can steer good. We're still gonna have full range of motion for our rear suspension. So it's gonna still stay nice and smooth on the road. We have all of our load resting on all of the axles now. But what you're gonna have to do is make sure that your trailer is gonna be level with your whole system here. So if you needed to go through, lower your spots on the hitch right there, that's where you would kind of mess with this. Is you might have to lower that down or raise it up depending on your application. I can't really tell because we have this stupid tree growing right here in our storage spot. I'm about to bring out a saw and kind of chop that down next time we park this. They can't even maintain this, kind of ridiculous. But there you go, guys. That is how you get the low distribution hitch installed. What we're gonna do now is install the sway controller. This is I believe this may be more important than the low distribution bars. Now, when I had air suspension on this vehicle, I didn't use the low distribution bars, but I still used the sway controller. It is a must if you're using a travel trailer. I mean, you can just see how far that hitch extends out past the bumper of the tow vehicle. And then you have the A-frame. Any wind that is acting on this trailer, you are gonna feel it. That trailer sway can really get out of hand. And you know, that is a great way to minimize it. All right, guys, so I got a lot of hate in that last video that I posted, the most popular video on my YouTube channel. So a lot of people were saying you didn't need those entirely because it's all about distributing your load throughout the trailer. Well, I get that, right? But I can't change the fact that the layout in this camper determines where all that weight is. You know, I can't help the fact that the bathroom, the kitchen, the bunk beds, all of that is kind of in the rear of the trailer. Yeah, I wish it was kind of up here more on the neck and everything, but it's not. So it's just what it is, guys. With a travel trailer, you're not going to be able to kind of distribute the load out inside the camper without loading anything in there. Obviously, that's going to play a factor, but that's where the load distribution bars come into play. That's why just about everybody that tows a travel trailer uses them. And that's why the dealerships recommend them. I know they're making a profit, but it's because you just about have to have it because the load, you're not going to be able to mix and match the load inside the trailer because the configuration is what it is. So the first part of the sway controller, you're going to have the ball that's already installed on your hitch, and then you're going to have to mount the other piece to the A-frame here. And all you have to do for this is I would just go ahead and pre-drill some pilot holes that are a little bit smaller, and then I would just go ahead and sink these self-tapping screws in there. It's going to be a little bit more difficult if you just try to sink them without drilling a pilot hole, but that's all you do is get that kind of lined up where you want it. You can break out your sway controller and determine where that needs to go. And I would refer to the owner's manual on this because it can vary from, you know, system to system. Get these pins out of here. All right, so this is also where it gets a little, you know, debatable, but I've put probably, I don't know, 40,000 miles on this camper over the past 3 years, and still using the same equipment, same sway controller. Haven't had to get a new one. It hasn't wore out, and I've just been doing this method here. So we're gonna unloosen the bar. Go ahead and put that on there. I'm gonna go ahead and lock this down with the pin. All right, that can get kind of greasy, guys, because you know you want that greased up pretty good. And I'm just putting it back there. So this is where Camping World installed it, was back here. So this is with the vehicle perfectly straight, and I probably have about, I don't know, 4.5 inches right here that's showing. And what that's going to allow you to do is make some turns. You don't want this thing to where you're not going to be able to make any turns, so that right there should allow you to still do that. We're going to go ahead, put this pin in there, twist that around so it can't come out. But once you have this installed, it's very easy. You can go ahead, tighten down this set screw. Let's see, I don't even know if it's 17 mil, it is. So that right there is tightened all the way down. Can't go any tighter. But what we're gonna do is tighten this part. Camping World, when they showed me the demonstration, said, oh, just tighten it to where you can kind of feel the tension, and then that's, you're gonna stop. I'll tell you right now, that is not enough tension on that sway bar to minimize any type of sway that your trailer is gonna have. It's just not gonna happen, guys. You're still gonna feel everything. What you're gonna wanna do is tighten this thing down pretty daggone tight. So then you're gonna be good to go and ready to tow. At this point, we are ready to tow. So go give your rig a good look around, walk around, make sure everything's good to go before you go ahead and tow this thing. We got our safety chains hooked up, power supply, and we are rocking and rolling, guys. So that is how you set up a low distribution hitch and get it ready for your rig, especially if your dealership didn't do it the right way, or maybe you just bought one from Amazon or something like that and you just didn't know where to start. This is pretty much how you do it in a nutshell. So guys, like and subscribe. We'll catch you in future videos. Thanks for watching.